Well, we've arrived at Saturday. This is my question for you today. What happens when you see a spaceman? You know what? You park, man. You park. Just obscene. Okay. The best way to be successful is to follow the advice that you usually give others. Proverbs 15:32 says, "He who ignores discipline despises himself, but whoever heeds correction gains much understanding." That's the truth. And my devotion today talks about flowers. It's entitled simply Yellow Bells. Matthew 6:28 says, "Why are you anxious? Consider the lilies of the field." Just outside the gate at Sky Range Ranch, there's a place on the hillside where the soil is very poor. This rangeland only receives 10 or 11 inches of rain a year. In the fall, when the cows are coming home from the hills, they gather outside the gate waiting to be turned into the pasture. And as a result, this area has suffered severe overgrazing. On this poor ground plagued with drought and too many cattle, the plants are fighting a battle for survival. Since cows do not eat sagebrush, this hardy plant is holding its own pretty well. In the shelter of each clump of sage, little bunches of perennial grass cling to life, waiting to expand their holdings the moment they get their chance. And in the spring, right after the snow melts, in this most unpromising soil, the yellow bells bloom. They will be there about a week when the ground will be liberally sprinkled with these little lovely bells, each one on a stem about 4 inches high, swinging as gaily and bravely as if it had the whole world under control, as if drought and hungry range cows were no problem at all. One year in March, when the winter was very cold and spring was slow in coming, I walked over this area. The ground was still frozen. There was not a sign of life anywhere, and I wondered, where are the yellow bells? Could it be that this is the winter when they died? Then came a few warm days in April, and right behind the melting snow came the yellow bells, as delicate and as lovely and as brave as ever. When my daughter went through her annual spring ritual of bringing in a handful of yellow bells for the dinner table centerpiece, I had some long thoughts. What a miracle it is that you can see in this wonderful little flower. It does not give up when the odds are against them. It not only stays alive, but in its few short days of blooming, it puts energy into the production of beauty as well as life. All of us need to look from time to time at the yellow bell or some other God's little lovely things and reflect on those little things and what they have to say to us. Pain, hunger, frustration, death, loneliness, despair. These things have always been with us in this life. People have always felt hurried, always realized that life is too short for the things that we long to do. To the people of Palestine 2,000 years ago, the prospect of being run through with a Roman spear was certainly as gruesome as our present fear of being disintegrated by an atomic bomb. It was more likely. This prospect of growing old and begging alms was certainly as bad as the prospect of retiring with nothing but Social Security. To these troubled people, Jesus says, don't be anxious. Consider the lilies of the field. Take a good look. Remember, God cares for them. Surely you can trust Him and put your trust in Him because He cares about you very much, way more than the lilies. and all your worry is not going to help you one little bit. We moderns, of course, have a much deeper problem. Most of us don't get out into the field, and we do not see the lilies or the yellow bells at all. So friends were talking of their travels and found that each had been in California. As they compared notes, one said, "What do you think of the redwood trees?" And his friend replied, "What redwood trees?" After being shown on a map the location of the redwood forest, his comment must have been, "Well, that must have been the day that we made 800 miles. Surely here's a problem we all face. The problem of going through a lovely world and missing it because we've set goals so big or so high that we have to waste all of our time and energy racing toward meeting that goal. There was once upon a time around my sophomore year when I thought graduating from college to be the greatest thing in life. Now looking back, I have to tell you, I do not clearly remember the day that I graduated. I can't remember the commencement address or who gave it, but I clearly remember when I was a boy working on the hot afternoons weeding sugar beets and hiding from time to time under the large green leaves. I knew that if no one saw me lie down, no one would know just where in the field I was. Under the beet leaves, the ground was cool and damp. The hot sun was shut out, and there was a sense of privacy, a sense of being very close to the earth and to God who made the earth. This lovely little place of my childhood I shall not forget. You may call it a second childhood if you like. Thomas Bailey Aldrich speaks of a similar rare moment, and I quote, "My mind lets go 1,000 things, like dates of wars and deaths of kings, and yet recalls the very hour 'twas noon by yonder village tower, and on the last blue noon in May, the wind came briskly up this way, crisping the brook beside the road, pausing here set down its load of pine scents, and shook listlessly 2 petals from that wild rose tree." As we go through life, each one of us is making a notebook of memories, whether we put our notes on paper or only on the pages of the mind. As we write, it is important that we write down some little things each day for that time when these notes may be our highest joy. So, you should note the day the lilacs bloomed, the day your little son picked a dandelion for you, the day the bluebirds found the house you made for them. In this age of bigness, the big things will crush you if we forget to see the yellow bells. If we forget the words of the one who said, "Consider the lilies of the field and be not anxious." Would that we could believe that. Let's be at prayer. Oh God, we ask your strength, and we ask the ability to take a look at some new things in a different way. Little things, kind things, pretty things. Be with us, O Lord, and may we be sustained by the beauty that is all around us. Amen. You take care and God bless. Bye-bye.